Go Big 12 or go home. I'm Brandon Shanahan, joined as always by Iowa broadcasting legend Drew Russell. Drew Russell, what a weekend. How's it
Oh,
going up north?
man, it's great. When you get a 70-degree day in the upper Midwest in February, you're gonna smile, Brandon. That's guaranteed. That's what we got here today. It has been great. What a weekend indeed for Big 12 basketball, the league that continues to deliver on absurd entertainment. Wild overtime game in Waco. We get a buzzer beater in Stillwater.
Oh my
We have
God.
got fan bases that are angry, demanding coaches getting fired potentially. I mean, this is what it's all about, in my opinion.
It doesn't get any better than that. First question for you, Drew Russell. We got some college football news. Oh man, it looks like I got off the beaten path there. I was looking too much at Roger Sherman's Twitter, not enough at guy Brett McMurphy. UMass joining the MAC conference starting in 2025 in all sports. Well, I mean, we really can't escape conference realignment. Just when you thought that we were set for the time being.
It's such a small blip on the radar, but to me, it's half significant, Brandon, just because of this. Massachusetts and Temple, both historically good basketball programs. Temple, a lot of success in the 80s, 90s, thousands. UMass, they had some success. A guy that is always an honest and integrity, a lot of integrity, and John Calipari. He coached at UMass. They went to a Final Four with him. He's a king of integrity. So, look, those are two big basketball powers. They're both making in moves because of, the money generator, which is college football. But I kind of wish they went and looked at a fellow Northeast school in the Yukon Huskies who made a move to the AAC many years ago, Brandon, because they want to keep their football program relevant. It made sense because, again, football drives money. But their basketball program, which is a great basketball program, they suffered quite a bit. They were bad. They were really bad. And they decided, you know what? We're going to go independent in football. We might not be good, but we're going to rejoin the Big East in everything else, including basketball. Now they're national champions again. I'm not saying UMass and Temple are going to be national champions, Final Four, or anything like that for hoops, but I do think that's going to hurt their hoops programs. And I think, again, geographically, the A10 makes more sense for both those schools as well.
Yeah, and I don't know. We're kind of talking about beforehand. I'm just so curious what goes into those conversations because I imagine, like in the conference realignment talks that we've been so ingrained with over the last couple of years. I mean, it's all about money and like all the other problems, like the geography, the tradition, that can all be fixed with money. But I mean, these guys aren't in big money, so then things like geography, resources, tradition, that stuff does still really matter. I wonder what goes into those conversations.
Hey, well, you and I were. I would love to be a fly on the wall on so many sports conversations, but yeah, I'm sure unlike those other major realignment talks from a few years ago, where they're more secretive. There's some hidden Zoom calls, probably some closed door meetings at your local Hyatt hotel. Where you're not going to see anything. I'm telling you, this one was done out open. I'm saying you and I are in agreement. They went to Applebee's, they went to Chili's, they got a 2 for $20. They said, let's have a fun time. Let's get some dollar margaritas. And I think that's exactly how this deal went down. No hiding here, folks. People aren't going to recognize probably that admin as much as, say, a president or AD of Texas or Oklahoma. So I'm telling you, this was done, I think, in a local chain restaurant. You heard it here first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, between you and I think that's where all business should be conducted.
I mean, are you not just happier when you're, talking and got a bloomin' onion, right? I mean, how do you not going to be happier? You go to a local Texas Roadhouse, you got a hot roll. I mean,
Oh yeah.
come on now. You get some honey butter with that bad boy, and then they come out a little bit later with a steak or whatever. You're going to be in a better mood. I mean, you're going to be more relaxed.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I would just feel so much better about the state of college football if this Big Ten SEC alliance, or excuse me, advisory committee is what they're calling it, if they were to meet at an Applebee's or a Texas Roadhouse, then the shady Dallas hotels that they're meeting at now.
Well, it's like, at college football, I feel like those are the places to establish business. Like, if this is the NFL, okay, look, let's be honest here, Brandon. Roger Goodell is going to be going to a very fancy, probably a little, 3-star Michelin restaurant in New York City, and they're going to be paying hundreds to thousands of dollars in that final bill. You kind of expect that. I mean, it's just kind of a higher class in a way. At the same time, college football, if they're doing that, then they've lost their entire audience. Have you met the average college
Yeah,
football fan? This is the common Joe across the board. These meetings need to be happening there. For all I care, hold it at Culver's. Go to a Culver's in the Midwest. You're in the Mid
Culver's. There's
South.
no shady business being done in Culver's. I'll tell you
No,
what.
it's just good, hardworking people enjoying a Butterburger and some cheese curds. Go to a
Oh
Whataburger.
man,
You can't tell me you're not going to just find some good salt of the earth people at a Whataburger. So that's just my take. But I'm with you, Brandon. I mean, come on. I'm personally way more relaxed in those environments compared to, hey, let's go to a nice restaurant. Don't get me wrong, food's usually great, service great, not complaining necessarily. I can even stomach the price here and there, but like you're not as relaxed. And I think
yeah.
it's just I come from a, more middle class environment myself. So I am more comfortable personally in chain restaurants. I'm guessing that admin for UMass and Temple were as well.
Absolutely. Not necessarily realignment news, but something that was shared across my desk from the Greg Swaim show, who I heard was referred to as the Alex Jones of college football. So
Oh,
his sourcing may not be the big J journalism that we're looking for, but he mentions there might be some realignment news with the Big Ten getting Notre Dame and Texas A&M, which I think would be the Big Ten obvious target for the Big Ten. That one doesn't surprise me, but the Texas A&M smoke, that one does make me laugh, and that would be very funny to me.
yeah. Why is A&M unhappy? Are they really that bitter that Texas is going to come into their conference after they left over a decade ago?
Yeah, I
Are they
think that would be
that
the
bitter, Brandon?
softest thing I've ever seen. For a couple of things, one, I don't think it would work out at all for Texas A&M. As what we're seeing with conference realignment, if it doesn't make perfect sense, it's going to go wrong. And Texas A&M barely clears that threshold in the SEC. Mizzou barely clears that. I would say Mizzou does not clear that threshold. Actually, they did just suddenly get good, so good on them. But Nebraska, Colorado didn't work out for them. All the oh boy, I'm trying to think of who else left their conferences. But shout out to the Throwback Frog. He did a great video on this. But he basically says if you're a Power Five team leaving your Power Five conference, it's probably going to go bad. It works
Yeah.
out if you're like TCU going from the Mountain West to the Big 12,
Yep.
so on and so forth. But otherwise, it doesn't work. And so a lot of these teams are in trouble. And Texas A&M would be in double trouble going to the Big Ten. Are you kidding me?
I mean, geographically, it is beyond stupid. From like, if they're expecting, hey, since we played in the SEC for a decade plus and have seen LSU and Bama every single year, we're gonna be ready for this. I don't think you
Nope.
are. Last time I checked, Ohio State and Michigan are two pretty nasty teams. Penn State can eat your lunch, and Penn State's viewed as a joke amongst those first two fan bases I just mentioned. I think Oregon is still around. I think Washington's still around. And you've got some up and coming teams, I think, that are going to be some pretty difficult. I mean, Iowa, I'll tell you what, I'd take Iowa over A&M all day. I hate Iowa, but I'm going to take Iowa for sure. They'll eat their lunch. Those are disciplined, Midwest guys in the line. They will kill them in the trenches. So
Yeah.
I don't get it. Nebraska would eat their lunch just like the good old Big 12 days. I mean, get real here. I mean, come on, A&M.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm thinking is that when you're throwing out teams like Ohio State and Michigan, like Texas A&M is not in that class. They spend like they are. They are. They think that they should be. Maybe you get Cliff Kingsbury and Johnny Manziel back. Then maybe you get some juice going. But I mean, even in their Big 12 days, they were above average at best.
Oh, yeah, they were. I mean, I think, got to the conference title game once,
Yeah.
maybe
No.
twice, Brandon. Like, and They didn't do much. Like,
No.
look, they've got a big fan base. Kyle Field, is a big stadium, and they do a great job of filling it to the max most home games. So I think their fan base is obnoxious as they are. It is a passionate fan base and a solid fan base. That said, though, athletically, I just don't like what do they accomplish? Johnny Manziel, I can't. Whether you hate the guy or love the guy, he's like, the great Pete Weber of bowling. You watch the guy.
Yeah.
You sure watch the guy.
Absolutely.
I think still a top 3 absurd college football game I think I'll ever go to, Brandon, is when Johnny Manziel came to Fayetteville, Arkansas in 2013. And I just want to say, they used the term Vietnam that weekend in Arkansas, and it was rightfully so. I mean, it was crazy. Big A&M contingency came down. They were doing their midnight call, in the middle of Fayetteville, and all these Arkansas fans just show up and start yelling at them while they're doing the midnight. I mean, it was great. It was SEC football at its finest,
that's
Brad.
the best.
It was. It was the SEC football at its finest. But outside of that Manziel era, where it's not like they won anything there either, if you're looking from a conference or anything there. I mean, they were wildly entertaining.
It was like a 14-game window.
Yeah, it was fast. I mean, Manziel was a 2-year experience.
Yeah.
And granted, again, it was a wildly entertaining 2-year experience, but they didn't win. This program doesn't win. And when times get hard, instead of pointing to themselves, this is a life lesson. I'm talking to myself, maybe. Sometimes you got to look at yourself in the mirror first and say, I'm just not good enough. How do we get there? They've got the money. They got the facilities. Embrace SEC. Play Texas.
Yeah.
Play, that's weak.
Right, you think Georgia or Alabama give a half a shit about Oklahoma and Texas joining the conference? They're probably like, heck yeah, let's. From my point of view, it's okay, well, let's tighten up the conference, and maybe we can compete with the Big Ten one day. But in their eyes, they're probably like, oh yeah, we're the best. We want to play the best.
I mean, conference realignment and absurdity aside, if you're a good to great program, you embrace competition, and they should be embracing it. And I think they clearly are very angry. They left the Big 12 because they wanted to get out of Texas' shadow. And to defend them to a point, I do get it.
I get it. Yeah, I see that.
I'm not going to I do understand that. It's why they left. It's why Nebraska left. Mizzou, Colorado. It's why everybody thought the Big 12 was extinct potentially 12 years ago. It was in serious trouble, and Texas, frankly, was the culprit. That said, though, a lot has changed. The SEC pays more than anybody in media rights. You are an established figure there. Give them credit. Yeah. They have built legitimate rivalries, an old school one with Arkansas. Them and LSU have built a little bit of beef. Heck, even Alabama, they're on Alabama's radar. The Alabama hate does not like A&M, so they've done their job of becoming relevant. It's weak to me. I'm going to assume, I'll say it's fake news, but boy, I mean,
I'll say
it's worth a conversation though, because that's ridiculous. And if it's any team that would pull that, it would be A&M.
Yeah, it is just fun to I don't think there's any smoke to it. Of course, I don't think there's real big J journalism in saying that the Big Ten wants to add Notre Dame, but it does give us the opportunity to shun Texas A&M for a little bit, and I think that's well worth it.
Yeah, well, and Notre Dame, I guess probably should bring that up very quickly too. That'd be very interesting, considering they've kind of moonlighted with the ACC for all their programs outside of football, which is independent still, though they have a little 4-game, 5-game deal with the ACC to play every year. But yeah, that said, though, they're going to get some pushback from at least 2 statewide institutions in Indiana and Purdue. I don't think, neither one of them are strong from a football history standpoint, but I'm guessing they'll get a little pushback from those 2 schools. But, if you're the Big Ten, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
From an academic standpoint, too, yes, academics still exist. But, it makes sense. But, yeah, conference realignment, Brandon, we discussed this a couple weeks ago. We're not even close to being done. I think we'll have another summer of a lot of rumors, and then we'll see how it plays going forward.
And real quick, we are a Big 12 podcast, and I promise we'll get into the Big 12 and the great basketball conference it is. But we spent so much time talking about Texas A&M. Did you get to see that interview with Shannon Sharp and Johnny Manziel?
I did catch a few. I didn't watch all of it, but I did watch a few clips, Brandon.
It's worth every minute. It is so much more like the documentary I had such high hopes for, and it let me down. This is everything that I thought that was going to be, and then some. Like some things I wouldn't have even thought about. And he's just openly talking about how much of a douchebag Brian Hoyer was and how that impacted his NFL standing. How intimately he talked about Texas A&M fumbling the bag with Kyler Murray, and how he mentioned like his success there that we just highlighted on, and that every college football fan who was around during those days reminisces on. That was supposed to be the stepping stone to what Texas A&M wanted to be. And in hindsight, if you have a guy like Kyler Murray and you're already on scholarship, already on the team, you don't make that jump, that's crazy. And of course, all his struggles with sobriety, it is worth every second and a half. I might even go watch it again, just how openly and honestly he talks about everything. And shout out Shannon Sharp, he's great at these kind of conversations.
Yeah, there's not many. I started with Shannon Sharp. Not many media personalities that can get raw, candid stuff from athletes. Shannon Sharp is one of those guys. He is extremely good. I'll even give a Graham Bessinger a little bit of love as well. That guy, excellent interviewer as well. He's gets some good stuff. And then with Johnny Manziel, kid made a lot of mistakes, Brandon. No one's ever going to deny that. He's not going to deny that. But I can't imagine just being thrown into, you're an unknown guy, outside of maybe your own fan base in the state, and then within 6-7 weeks become an overnight sensation.
Yeah.
And like 19, 20 years old, unfortunately, I mean, if he's getting, invited to stuff all around the country with major celebrities or, getting jets or whatnot, I mean, that's pretty brutal. Not like, how are you really going to turn that down? Like, and like what he did for Texas A&M, again, talking about just their fan base and all that. I mean, they were able to, Kyle Field, again, really nice facility now. I think a solid facility even when he was there. But I mean, that school made, it was a 9-figure estimate of how much money I think estimated that he helped generate that school. And it was tough not to watch. He really was must-see TV week in and week out, kind of when he started getting big in mid-2012. The Alabama game is the one I'll never forget. That first touchdown was just insane.
Yeah.
The tip, and he throws it, and you're like, this Bama team's loaded. He is torching them.
Yeah.
And then, I hope he keeps finding a path to happiness, because it's tough to feel too bad. It's in a way, he's made millions of dollars, but of the last 15 years, Brandon, this is a top 5 scrutinized athlete in any sport. Is that fair?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's accurate. So wish him the best. I'll have to watch the whole thing.
Oh my gosh, you'd love it. You get such a kick out of it.
Yeah,
because and the one thing that one of the things I just didn't know was even like on the table is like he wasn't that far off from coming back to Texas A&M for that third year, which would have been such a crazy moment and such a crazy college football history altering kind of thing. But yeah, it's no coincidence that they had that giant renovation right after he left.
Right. Well, and you can't. Yeah, I know. Yeah, isn't that just happened to happen? You know, like it's.
We just came across this $100 million. Oh, I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, it's why I don't. And like his NIL stuff. I mean, in today's day, I can't imagine. That's a 7-figure deal, no question. But he really was a very unique, exciting talent in college football, and he was, oh man, some of the stuff he pulled, Brandon. His final college game, I remember they played Duke.
Yeah.
And they were down just big, just lost. And then all of a sudden, you look at the TV again. Oh, they're only down 21. You start to watch them and Duke's defense, I'm not saying was exactly outstanding, but like it was so fun to watch him ball out. And it would have been fun to watch him play another year of college football. If you're a first round projected pick, I don't blame you for going. Um, Minnesota Vikings fan Brandon, won't lie to you, I did not want him. I was too scared. I was like, I don't know. But I didn't think he'd flame him out like he did in the NFL either.
Yeah. The
So
Vikings didn't have Brian Hoyer, so that might have helped him out.
Hey, we just had the OG Teddy Bridgewater, Brandon. Shout out to our guy,
Teddy would have been so good to my guy, Johnny. It would have been so good to him.
Teddy would have shown a lot of love towards Teddy Bridgewater is just a good guy. Retired for the NFL this year, but I'm always going to be a Teddy Bridgewater guy. I love Teddy.
Too love Teddy. I love it.
Broncos legend too.
Absolutely.
Shout out
there. I do want to put I don't want to bring the mood of the show down a little bit, but as we move towards college basketball, some tragic stuff over the weekend. The Duke Wake Forest game. After another court storming. It's just another fan just obliterated by a college basketball player just trying to enjoy the celebration and just assaulted by a sore loser. We've seen it a couple of times now with just, truly like the worst faces of basketball that you think, the classic Duke villain. You got that, and then of course, Caitlin Clark, the villain in our eyes, the villain of this show for sure. Just committing these heinous acts against these great fans, just trying to have a good time, but just unable to get it done.
Oh yeah, and again, thank you for the reminder on the up top in that right hand corner. Just
sorry, I forgot about that.
No. 0 points against Nebraska in the fourth quarter. Don't ever forget. And they lost to Indiana. They lost to Indiana last Thursday.
They got blown out by Indiana. Oh my gosh,
8-26. Okay,
outstanding. Right on Caitlin Clark Day.
Yep. Oh, taxpayer money right there.
Yep.
There we go. But we'll talk court storming first, Brandon, because unlike the other one, this one being the men's game, I really don't know if there's really a lot Flip could do for Duke. He was put in a pretty bad position. Not a lot he can do. And I'm getting a little angry, though, because there's a lot of talk of let's ban court stormings. Let's end them.
Yeah.
No. You can't. It's part of the game. It's what makes college basketball fun. Students enjoy it. I think it's a great, great deal. Should there be improvements made? Absolutely. And I can't. He was a Big J journalist. This is not my idea, but but I saw on Twitter X this past weekend, one journalist talked to some prominent head coach in college basketball, unnamed, and the coach said, "What if we put just a clock on the scoreboard after they win?" 15 seconds, I don't know, it was 15 or 30 seconds, let it count down, let the players go off the court. And it's tough for me, Brendan, because part of me hates it, but part of me is like, well, I'd rather have that than no court storming at all. But I just don't think you can ban it. But security's got to make sure Wake Forest security was horrible. They didn't do their job. There are kids on the court when there's still clock on the time on the clock. So that has to be adjustment. But I don't think you should get rid of it.
Yeah, gosh, the idea feels so silly. It feels like so somebody right around New Year's time being like, you know what, too much bad stuff happens at midnight on New Year's. So what we're gonna do is once the New Year starts, we're gonna have another 2-minute clock, and then once that 2-minute clock goes, then we're gonna celebrate. We don't want the chaos that comes with celebrating at midnight. But yeah, I think it's a pretty firm case that this show is very pro court storming. I think it's just one of the things that makes college basketball so unique in college sports in general. And I was watching the Mostly Sports show with Mark Titus, who has been kind of the big educator for me as far as college basketball goes. He's great, and he's everything that he says is as far as this goes is very much where I'm aligned with. This is what makes the sport so great, and there's this conflict now with the the college basketball elites trying to make it like the NBA, when in reality, the NBA would do anything to get the kind of tradition and the passion that college basketball aspires.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about Wake Forest here. Are you kidding me?
I know.
And you're absolutely right. There are protocols that should be in place. I remember at the previous incident that we talked in great deal about, it looked like there was a good protocol in place, and the rest of her teammates,
Mm.
you could put the pieces together. I won't use names, but the rest of her teammates were being escorted by police, and then, oh gosh, I don't know how that got back up there. And then,
Oh,
yeah, she comes, rolling through the
yeah.
crowd like a buzzsaw. Those protocols have to be tightened up and dialed in, because that is, and and Brandon Walker brought up this point. If only we had like an example of a court storming gone right where nobody gets hurt. Oh yeah, that's the last 100 years of college
Yeah.
sports.
Yep. Yep. And I agree with everything that you just said. Like, this seems to have only become an issue last couple of years. I feel like it's been more of a prominent.
There's
This
some
isn't like
chatter.
a just this year. Like, there were some things last year. Yeah, chat. So, like, I'm not saying that this isn't a problem. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some adjustments made. I would really focus on that security group, just like holding firm. If it not initially, get that wall in place for the handshake line. Make sure there's a lot of security ready to go for letting that opposing team get off the court. We don't want anybody hurt. But man, you can't kill a tradition. I know they, for a while, and I think they still institute them. They're not talked about. They fine teams in certain conferences if there's a court storming. Those ADs happily write that $25,000 check because
Easy. For
they,
sure.
it is good for their brand and the passion, and it generates interest. Recruits, I think, like it. I mean, if you're not a high major recruit and go into a blue blood, you want to go to a place that you hope has passion for college basketball. And for a team like Wake Forest, it's frankly a once great power, has had some great teams, great players, Tim Duncan, Chris Paul, etc. Those kids deserve to storm the court. That was frustration. That was their first sellout in 7 years, Brandon. Come on now.
That's awesome.
You gotta let the kids enjoy that. You gotta let the kids enjoy that. But I'm not saying there needs to be better better security. I'm not even saying if they needed delay it a few seconds, but that New Year's analogy is pretty bleeping good, and you might have changed my mind on that one, Brandon. So it's an interesting deal, though.
He also threw out a scenario where you could just get an armed officer out there to escort each person on to the courts if you're that worried about safety. Just one at a time. He escorts you on. He goes back. He gets the next student. Boy, they're so spot on with their court storming analogies. They're great. I did want to update the sub counter here real quick. We are up to 4. We have Levante David here, Super Bowl winner, and now he was a Big 12 legend. So if there's anybody who is thinking that Nebraska's in the Big 10, the Levante David's a Big 12 legend. Make no mistake about it. So.
I love the road to 50. 4 is a solid number right there, Brandon. Same sub all 4 times, or have you mixed up a little bit?
I'll have to do the math on how many Jimmy John sandwiches I've eaten over the last year. It's probably pretty hefty. Have not altered my order one time.
Same thing.
Yeah, the Jimmy Cubano extra pickles was with pickle chips. What I would do is I'll put the pickle chips on the sandwich. Now I just get the barbecue chips. That's the only alteration. And sometimes I'll forget to add the extra pickles. But Jimmy Cubano every time. The root beer
sounds like an eat, boy. That's a dub right there. That's a dub. Next time I go there, that's what I'm getting. Out of respect to one of the greats.
Oh yeah,
46 to go, ladies and gentlemen. 46 until that first kick of college football season in late August. You're going to get there, Brandon. Keep
I think
the
so.
pace. You got to trust
I think
the
so.
process.
I think we're at a good pace.
Trust the process. Don't let the process break you. Don't be like Doc Rivers and go on a rant, okay?
Doc Rivers. How does that guy keep getting jobs?
I don't know. How do you like this? Okay, if he's like retired, unemployed, I don't care if he goes on this wild run. Like, this is hilarious. This is a coach of an NBA basketball team who was hired less than a month ago. less than a month ago, and he's going on just these wild rants. His star player doesn't even like to watch basketball, says, I don't watch film. I don't read scouting reports. I go play. Boy, that's a good example for the rest of your team. And I love Giannis. I
Yeah,
love the guy. I was blown away by that.
I
Doc's on a
can't.
heater right now, though. Good night.
I mean, might as well. Like this, his on the court, performances aren't enough to keep him unemployed. He's like, well, now I can just say whatever I want because clearly I'm going to keep getting these jobs despite these historically disastrous playoff runs.
I'd be ticked if I was ownership and I heard, well, actually, wouldn't they approach me? I said, well, isn't Adrian doing a good job? I don't know why you'd want to replace him. You're going to actually say that in the middle of the season? That's a podcast 2-3 years away. That's when, George Karl goes on a podcast, rips Carmelo Anthony 10, 15 years after the fact, and then vice versa. That's when you can talk about those things.
George Karl is so silly to me because he'll be in that camp where he'll criticize Carmelo, and then he'll complain that his relationship with Carmelo isn't great, and then he'll be like, oh yeah, the Nuggets should retire both Carmelo and Jokic when when Jokic is done. Like no. You're either pro Carmelo, and obviously you had some takes, while he was there and after he was gone, or you're anti-Melo in Denver, and that's Jokic's well-earned number.
I don't know. Yeah, you can hear that stuff out like after everything's done, but come on, like
while you're on the payroll is crazy.
Kind of nuts, but yeah, shout out to Doc, man. He keeps getting jobs. I mean, his son Austin Rivers, he ripping JJ Redick saying that man built your career. I'm like, my guy Austin Rivers, I don't hate you, man, but you gotta look into yourself in the mirror,
That's not the take.
Be careful there, buddy. I respect you, but be careful.
Yep, be careful.
Just know. So okay, man. We talking Big 12 hoops, Brandon?
Oh my gosh, we do. Hoops. We do. We had a crazy big week. We'll pull up the updated standings here. We broke even on the week, you and I. So not great news for me, but another week with just a single digit in the loss column for Drew Russell. Boy, that Oklahoma State's that's a bad beat. That's what's keeping you from back-to-back one-loss weeks here.
Man, that was a great game, Brandon. That game had everything. Stillwater really stepped up. That was vintage Gallagher-Iba on Saturday. The arena atmosphere was absolutely outstanding. But yeah, for Oklahoma, I mean, holy buckets, what a big win to go in there in a game that you want to take, be it the last one you're playing Stillwater for an undisclosed amount of time. And for McCollum to hit that buzzer beater, an incredibly difficult shot. It was well contested, but he hit the bucket. That's quite a win. And I know Oklahoma State's at the bottom of the conference, but they're playing well at home right now, Brandon. I give them a lot of credit. Obviously, Coach Boynton, don't know what his status will be by the end of the season. That remains to be seen. But that team's playing hard right now, and they've been tough at home. But what a game. Big win for OU.
You're absolutely right. And my big takeaway was absolutely the environment of Stillwater, and then just in the moment, just having it all sucked out of the building. I'll tell you what, I think it's more exciting to see a highlight like that where the entire crowd is like dejected as opposed to if it was in Norman. Because I think back to like that Ray Allen 3 in Miami, how crazy that was, and you get to see the fans' reaction, and that's cool. But like getting to see like Mike's game winner in Utah. Oh, there's the life leave these people's faces.
So, if you're hitting a buzzer beater, Brandon, I only hit one buzzer beater in my life, and it was in front of 20 people in a summer league game. That's it. That's it. Hey, it counts. But I mean, it wasn't in front of a big crowd. But I've always said, like, it's always I prefer a away buzzer beater where you just silence the student section. If you're at high school or college, silence the fans, because when you can hear a pin drop in arena, or like it's just quiet and you have a little small contingency cheering. That to me, even though it's amazing when you have a big crowd go crazy, don't get me wrong. I like the away buzzer beater better. I'm with you. Like there's just something about hitting a bucket in an opposing gym that is just so rewarding. It really is, or a big bucket. There's no doubt about it.
And
No
then
doubt.
we both missed on Baylor. I thought for a
Yeah.
moment we were going to get back into that one. I thought we were going to steal that one towards the end there, but not quite the case.
Yeah,
Losing both away late.
Baylor, Houston, that was quite an interesting game because Houston was phenomenal the first half. Houston looked like they are still a national, clearly contender, but I was watching them like, how am I going to pick against this team in March?
Yeah.
Like, they are just firing on all cylinders. And, emotional win Monday night against Iowa State. Then they have to go to a raucous environment in Waco. And Baylor had their shots. Baylor, they hit free throws down the stretch, Brandon. We're talking about a great win for the Baylor Bears at home. Missed opportunity for them. And, Houston could have easily won in regulation. They were 0.2, 0.3 seconds too late on that buzzer beater. Similar to that Iowa State game. The only difference was it was tied, and they went to OT and they took care of business. So a major win for Houston, and kind of looking at their schedule down the road, still got Kansas on it. That's at home, though. They won't have to go on the road there. It's Houston's to lose. They're in great shape with 2 weeks to go for the regular season title.
And do want to point this out. So I did find some clarity on the tiebreaker, as a pro Iowa State leaning, organization. So the first tiebreaker for head to head is head to head, of course, and with Iowa State and Houston, that splits. And then the next tiebreaker rule is interesting. Each team's record versus the team occupying the highest position in the final regular season standings, and then working their way down through there. As of right now, and in this scenario where Iowa State's still in it, it has to be Iowa State wins out and Kansas beats Houston, which would then make Kansas the third team. And if I'm not mistaken, that would give Iowa State the tiebreaker because they beat Kansas. They're 100% against them.
Yes, and you're on the nose right there, Brandon. That's exactly that tiebreaker would break down. That said, co-champions if they tie, but and really the only difference is it'd be a 1 seed in Kansas City for Iowa State, which could be significant.
You don't have to see. Well, I guess you wouldn't have to see Houston to the finals if you're the 2 seed, anyways.
Sure, and I'm going to talk more. Kansas always has a heavy contingency. It's a 45-minute drive from downtown Kansas City to Lawrence, so they're going to always have the heaviest contingency. If you can find a way where if they're a 3 seed and you can avoid them and try to get a few more of your fans, Baylor, great. Look, they're not going to have as big of a fan base in KC. It's just simple mathematics. But what a race, what a season it's been. And, for Houston, they're in great shape for that 1 seed. Unless they really struggle down the stretch, they're going to be a 1 seed in the tournament. No one's debating that. And
for sure,
we'll see how it breaks down. 9 teams right now, if based on bracketology, and I think pretty firm teams in for the Big 12 right now. So, and that's what makes it fun right now.
That's crazy. But another full slate here, and this time we're actually able to get in the full week slate here. Ooh. Outstanding stuff here. A couple games going on as we're recording this right now, so we'll just get started with West Virginia, Kansas State. That's in Manhattan, playing tonight. I saw Kansas State being on the first 4 out. They're knocking on the door.
Yeah, they're right there. They were able to kind of find some significant, a needed victory on Saturday. And, that game already concluded, Brandon. That one, unbelievable matchup. And so we're both going to take a victory on this one. K-State winning in overtime, 94-90 over West Virginia. That's a season-saving victory for Kansas State because they lose that one. That's a bad loss. West Virginia is a stingy team, one that's been difficult. Kansas State led by 22 at halftime, lost the lead, and had to go to OT, and were able to find a way to gut it out. But That's a season-saving win. If they lose an OT outside of a big run in Kansas City, there's no way they're
Yeah.
making the tournament. So they definitely saved their NCAA chances right there.
Survive in advance. I appreciate that. Baylor and TCU, the rivalry. Some folks in a marketing department will call it the Blue Bonnet Battle. Not in the streets here with Drew Russell. If you hear anybody in your circle calling it that, it's not. They're not with it.
Yeah, I've never heard that term in my life. I've heard Blue Bonnet. I've heard that, but not for that rivalry. I'd say that's fake news, but no, that sounds that's very real. Great matchup, two teams that need it badly. Give me TCU at home. That's going to be a TCU at home. We'll find out. We'll see if we're right or wrong by the time this recording comes out. We already know that answer, but I got TCU. Love Jamie Dixon. Best widow's peak in the NCAA with the hair. I love Jamie.
Yeah, they just announced it this year, the Blue Bonnet Battle. Oddly enough, like it is a pretty good name considering the prominency of the Blue Battles or the Blue Bonnet flower here in the DFW area. But if you're naming this storied rivalry, 1899, based on a flower that you find on the side of the road, you got to do better. You got to do better. And the rivalry is absolutely where it's at. And this portion of the rivalry, I will take Baylor once I pull my spreadsheet back. I've got a little too excited there. But I'll take Baylor.
And a pretty significant game, too, just in terms of first round. If you're a top 4 team in KC, you get that double bye, which is pretty big in both teams right now. Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, all kind of in their own tiers at 1, 2, and 3, and then TCU, Baylor, and Texas Tech, 3 legendary Texas schools, all sitting right on that line. Obviously, when this comes out, one of these teams will be up that rung at least half a game. But yeah, I mean, a pretty significant one, one that's going to matter definitely.
All right, and then we get to the slates. I think these are the Tuesday night games. We started with Cincinnati and Houston. Can you talk me into Cincinnati at all, or is
I cannot? Yeah, it is your world, and you can live in it if you want, Brandon. But this is my easiest pick of all these games. I got Houston at home.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. BYU and Kansas. Can the Cougars get into Lawrence and clip them?
Yeah, this is the ultimate, like, whoever's the home team between these two teams, I'm taking the home team. So it's going to be Kansas. BYU has been, I said this last week, they're great at home, but they've been very average on the road. But they've had a great year, Brandon. I mean, they win this will be a 20-win season, and this Cougars team's good. But Kansas at home is great too, sometimes unbeatable.
And the next one I think is pretty interesting. We got Texas at Texas Tech. Texas Tech kind of getting pushed around by Central Florida over the weekend. Didn't have that one on our card. I think that's one that we both got wrong.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, you got to. Oh, darn it, Brandon.
Oh man, all right, I got to read.
Man, we had such nice records that you had to go and be accurate with your statistics.
All right, you're right.
Yeah, UCF was
even after the fact. I was so sure that Texas Tech was going to win that one.
Yeah, it was not close. It was a 14-point win for Central Florida. They were great. Texas Tech, they're a current 5 seed projected based on ESPN's Joe Lunardi. Texas has been very good on the road this season. I think that's an underrated statistic. They've been one of the conference's finer teams on the road, at least in conference play. That said, though, you just know the United Supermarkets Arena, one of my favorite arenas in the conference, is going to be rocking because they hate Texas and they want to give them a proper goodbye. Even if they were 20-point dogs, I'm taking you Texas Tech Red Raiders. I love my friends out in West Texas.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. My confidence for this game isn't very high, but there's just that optimistic part of me that's like they're not going to give Texas the eternal scoreboard here. They're going to take care of business.
Hopefully. So Chris Beard, though, that was a big deal. When he left Tech for Texas, I really felt already some juice in that rivalry. That ramped it up to a 10. and Chris Beard did some dumb, hyper dumb
Yep.
stuff, deserved to get fired. And people said, "Well, he coaching college basketball again." Of course, Ole Miss, they needed help, so
Oh
they didn't
yeah,
even
I
think
mean the
twice, and they
SEC
hired
will
him.
look away
Oh, that's
anytime.
that. You can count on that.
Yeah,
That's
you
for
sure
sure.
can.
Oh, you sure can for
You
sure.
sure can. And you can count on a great performance for Iowa State at home. I guess maybe not so great on Saturday against West Virginia. Would have liked that to be a little bit
Yeah.
wider of a spread, but they'll have an opportunity to build on to it. Oklahoma coming to town. Last trip they'll make to Hilton. Are they taking
Last
care of
trip, yeah,
business?
pretty amazing. I was talking with an older Iowa State fan a couple days ago, and we are talking about Oklahoma. He said, Oklahoma, like now their basketball program, they don't really care. But he said back in the 80s and 90s under the direction of a wonderful, very good coach and Billy Tubbs, he said, I'm telling you, Hilton Coliseum, they were the most ticked off when Oklahoma came to town every year, like
Let's
more than
go.
Kansas, more than any. So when OU came to town, people that's when they got the most angry. And so, it is kind of sad to see that one go just from an Iowa State perspective. This is a good OU team. Hilton will definitely have some juice because Oklahoma beat them back in early January. Again, Iowa State, not great Saturday. Got the win, still undefeated in Hilton. Till that changes, there's no way I'm not picking them.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of where I'm at. And I think it's even something where like even if it was in Norman, I'm not picking Oklahoma over Iowa State. Just in my heart of hearts, and this mouse pad that we found while we were moving. I mean, we're not picking against the clones.
Hey,
Not today, not ever.
That's a beautiful mouse pad right there, Brandon. Yeah,
let's
give
go,
that.
dude. Let's go.
You know what's up. You
I'm,
gotta rep that.
we may our ball takes might be a little bit up and down here, but our mouse pad priorities are
that's an elite mouse pad right there. So that's elite.
Good as it gets. Speaking of elite basketball, we got Central Florida coming to Stillwater. Boy, what do you make of this one?
Well, this is a college basketball sickos game if I've ever seen one, Brandon. This is not for the faint of heart. And I'm guessing this is an ESPN Plus game. I haven't looked at the full schedule on that, but
ESPN Plus.
It is a plus game. So, hey, I say money well spent. If you're a sicko, you want to watch this game, you go for it. I've been on the Oklahoma State train last couple weeks. For some reason, they're at Gallagher-Iba, and I am just all in on the Cowboys. UCF, they're coming off a great win over Texas Tech. I've been high on this. They're only 2 games over 500. I've been high on UCF this season. I don't know what to expect. What? They let me down Saturday, Brandon. Give me Central Florida on the road. I'll take Central Florida.
Yeah,
I'll regret it, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get Oklahoma State here. I was prepared to sell you on the letdown that Oklahoma State's probably feeling, but I'll flip it back around. Before that, they were playing some good ball. They got BYU double-digit win there. They went up to Cincinnati, picked up a win there. Then we're just moments away from taking down Oklahoma. So I think if they can refocus, it's a Thursday game, so they got some extra time to rally the troops.
I'll tell you what, Brandon. If I'll give you a pass right now. If you want UCF, I will do a switch with you.
No.
Okay.
No, I like how there's no good out. I mean, we can make a road trip down there. Tickets low as $2.
$2?
Yeah.
Oh man. Folks, why go to an NBA game and pay 50 times that when you can just see just sheer brilliance at $2 in the
Wednesday
rafters
night
by
in
yourself?
Stillwater. Well, I mean, it looks like the Oklahoma Iowa State game tickets are only $10.
Oh, that's a low key sickos game too. I love that game. Yeah. It'll be a good game. It'll be a good game. So.
And that brings us to the Saturday slate, probably the most exciting matchup of the week here. We'll get started with a Kansas and Baylor. Not crazy big implicate. Well, I guess if you're looking from the lens of like we don't want to see Houston until the final day of the tournament. that's got to be something that they think about. But boy, I mean, just a great basketball matchup. We're talking about the Sicko games on Wednesday. This is not. This is a an all hands on deck situation.
Boy, KU Baylor, that's been a great basketball rivalry the last few years. Never in a million years, if you told me 20 years ago that Baylor would be a regular power in college hoops, no chance. I believe you. That team was on the death penalty of college basketball after, serious scandal 20 plus years ago. But Scott Drew's done amazing work. It's quite a game. Baylor's been great home this year. Kansas has been a kind of let's go below average away. And yet, Brandon, there is something for some reason telling me KU finds a way to get it done on the road. I don't know why. They'll be an underdog, but they're a traditional power. I'm going to take Kansas on the road. And I really don't have any good reason for you either.
Yeah, I'll take the home team here. I'm in the same kind of boat that you're in. I don't have great analysis here on why I think Baylor is going to get it done, but I think this is the point in the year where wins like this are going to be what propels you into the postseason. I think Baylor probably needs that a little bit more than Kansas does at this point, especially just with the recent history there. But yeah, I'll take Baylor at home. ABC game, so we get to watch that. It's a lovely camera angle on network television, so that'll be great.
Oh, that's going to be just nothing but smiles right there when people.
Everybody's going to be so excited to watch.
We've done our rant on the camera angle. They'll fix it. I believe in you, Waco. I believe in you.
And now we got a good old Big 12 matchup that I'm going to miss, the burnt orange and the Oklahoma State orange in Austin. I'll take Texas here. I'll jump out, make my pick first. I think this is where the Cowboy momentum is going to kind of falter. I think that's a tough ask, no matter how good I think that they're playing going in.
Yeah, I got to join you on this one, Brandon. If Oklahoma State pulls this off, though, that's the type of win that Mike Boynton can kind of go at the end of the year and say, I'm telling you, we're making progress. Give me some more time. Let me keep building this program how I see fit. Win at Texas Saturday, that helps alleviate that for sure. No one would debate that.
Yeah. Up next, the winner for the cheapest ticket on Saturday in Orlando, Iowa State and UCF. We talked about the mouse pads here. Any words in favor of UCF?
I don't love this game for Iowa State, Brandon, because UCF has been a tough cookie at home this season. I do not love this game. That said, though, I'm going to say we've been very good against teams that are in the lower half of the conference this season, home and away, and I'll say that trend continues.
Now, this next game, two teams I've never had a good footing on. We're a few days away from March, and I still have no idea what to think about either of these teams. I'll go with the home team, West Virginia, I guess. No analysis, just it feels like almost as much of a coin flip as Oklahoma State, UCF. So yeah, I'll keep the home team.
Yeah, it's funny, Brendan. West Virginia is, 10 games under 500 at this current juncture after this loss tonight, or 9-19. Yet they're playing well. They're definitely playing their best basketball this season right now. It's a good pick. I don't blame you. I'm going to go Texas Tech on the road. I'm going to say they find a way, but kind of similar to that Kansas game. Don't love it. I would not be shocked if West Virginia won this. I like how they're playing right now.
Yeah. Kansas State and Cincinnati. This will be kind of a sickos game. I know no tradition there yet, but it's a brewing. What do you think here? What do you make of this?
This is Cincinnati's they've been adjusting this year to this conference as a proud basketball city, one that's seen some great tradition. K-State, I don't even know anything could happen this game. I don't feel good. I'm going to say Cincinnati. They're going to find the home advantage, and no, they're not going to tape your huddle behind the scenes. And so I'm going to go with Cincinnati at home.
They'll be on the watch.
Here they have good Wi-Fi there, so maybe they can get away with it.
I'll take the Wildcats. I guess they're both cats, so I can't just say cats. But give me the Purple Cats here.
It's award-winning analysis right there from both of us, Brandon.
I mean, we're dialed in.
People, boy, they're watching, they're listening to this, saying, "Boy, these guys really know what they're talking about."
But I mean, that's the thing is I'm not sure anybody when it comes to teams like Kansas State and Texas Tech and West Virginia, and since I don't think anybody truly knows what's going on, because it's not like we're not paying attention. It's not like we're following these teams on a week-to-week basis. I just have no. It could go either way, and I have no shame in admitting that that's where my analysis comes from.
I fully agree with you. I have no, again, like for both these programs right now, Kansas State, it's a little surprising how much of a downfall they've had this season because they're playing great through mid-January, playing great basketball, but they've really had just a slide that tough to explain. I still think their program trajectory is fine long-term, but still tough to explain. Cincinnati right now, they're kind of, I think they've got to be nervous because, again, they do have a good basketball history. They've had some great teams, but also this isn't the AAC where you can be a top 4 team pretty much yearly. You know, even if you're not good, you can still find wins and potentially make it as an at-large Big 12. It's unrelentless. If you're not ready to go, you're going to learn the hard way. So I don't know. Do I need to get the whiteboard out and get that line chart for F around and find out? I mean, I can do that if needed, ladies and gentlemen. So.
And up next, Houston goes to Norman. Are you giving Oklahoma any shot here? Or are they just run into the buzzsaw known as the Houston Cougars?
Well, Oklahoma at home is a pretty interesting team. They'll fight. If Houston was to lose a game, I think this last 4, I think this one would definitely be one that's kind of piques my interest. But it's kind of same with some of these top teams right now, but especially them, Brandon. It's just tough not to pick them. That Baylor win on the road really impressed me.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. If I'm going to be wrong on a lot of these, I'm sure. But if I'm wrong on this one, that's one that's I'll still be able to hit the pillow at night, no problem. Knowing I made the right call.
Yeah.
And TCU and BYU and Provo, boy, what a fun game.
I love this game. This game, that's kind of a must watch. So 8:00 on a Saturday night? That's a Provo special if I've ever heard that one. This team has been great at home this season. I've talked about BYU and home and beat that dead horse over and over, but they've been really good. Only 2 home losses, Houston, and of all teams, Cincinnati got them back in early January. So, which is hilarious to me.
So you can't tell me that anybody knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, they've beaten some great teams. They've gotten Iowa State. They beat Baylor. Texas, they beat handily. I love this team at home. I'm going BYU, but TCU I think will compete. TCU would definitely be there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. There's the home court is what's getting me. I'm trying to see if there's any others that I'm willing to flip just to break up the continuity that we have, because it's great. We're dialed in. We're a good team, but I got to pick up some wins. I'll say Texas actually picks up the win against Texas Tech. It hurts. Always horns down, but we got we got some catch.
I am really saddened by that one, Brandon. I was all in on that cohesion from us. I would almost sacrifice one of my picks just to make sure you stayed with Texas Tech. Like I would. I don't know which one though, but I would actually consider. I would consider doing that. That hurts to see that turn, but if you feel that way, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? So, But it's going to be, again, 2 weeks till a Big 12 conference tournament in Kansas City. That's going to be a great event. Under 3 weeks to go until we get those brackets branded. And I mean, when this comes out, we'll have first four action in 3 weeks away. So it's a great time of year. Brackets, they're going to be busted like crazy. And I look forward to the NCAA tournament every single year because there's just no sporting event like it. One of the most depressing days of my life, no question. You saw me, Brandon, was when 2020 happened, and we're looking forward to what should have been a phenomenal NCAA tournament, and it gets canceled due to COVID, and it was awful. It really was a brutal, brutal experience to miss out on that. But this tournament has a chance. Every year it's special, but this one could be, I think for the Big 12, man, I could see this conference racking up quite a few wins.
I'm right there with you. I can't wait. Any final thoughts on the week? Should be a fun one.
Should be a great week. College baseball underway,
and
a lot of Big 12 schools starting to ball out. There's quite a few good ones this year. And, historically, I don't watch a lot of college baseball, Brandon, until postseason, but it's a great sport. It's an up-and-coming sport. And they wear jerseys where, they're not see-through. And I think that's really nice compared to the current Major League Baseball jersey. I just want to point that out.
Something like that's so wrong.
Major League Baseball here is thinking about getting into OnlyFans based on based on their jersey.
You got to get those viewership numbers up somehow. I guess.
Yeah. Well, Rob Manfred he announced his retirement in 5 years. So
I would start at blackouts. But if they want to go, change up the fabric.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you live in the state of Iowa, let's have 6 teams blacked out. That sure is a lot of fun. But
6 teams that blacked out in Iowa. How many pro baseball teams are in Iowa? Drew Russell, can you answer that question?
Well,
if there's 6 that are blacked out.
And maybe the Field of Dreams game. Maybe they got confused. They said we did host that, so we got blacked out. Every team that borders you guys, even though you're not even remotely close to Milwaukee or St. Louis, Kansas City, any of them, Chicago teams, Minnesota, it's a bunch of hooey is what it is, Brandon. Hooey.
Yeah, and that drove me insane. Because first of all, when I was going to school in Council Bluffs, you get that same. I don't think you get the full 6, but I think you still get 4 or 5. But then you go across the river, and then it's just 1 in Nebraska. But you only get 1 regional sports network, no matter where you're at in the greater Des Moines area. So if that team's blacked out, I can make peace with that. I can sleep at night knowing, okay, well, if I want to watch this team, if I want to watch the Royals, I have access to Fox Sports Midwest. I can make peace with that. I don't have access to Milwaukee's Bally Sports or whatever they do up there. Nobody really wants to watch the Brewers anyways, but you get what I'm saying.
I'm gonna have a quick decree to Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds. Kim, I'm telling you right now, I'm not saying I'm a fan. I'm not saying I'm not. Whatever that is, fix this. I will consider leaving your state. I have, Brandon. If I leave Iowa, that would legit be on my list of reasons. It's infuriating. So to her, to any government admin in Iowa, find a way to fix this. This is a great state, but I don't know what you can do with anything.
You got to figure that out.
I mean, that's brutal. I don't care. America deserves to. I love baseball, and as fun as it is to watch the Miami Marlins play, I prefer to watch maybe some more regional teams as well. So fix it.
There we go. Shout out Kim Reynolds. Didn't think she'd get a shout out on the podcast.
Hey, that's the beautiful thing about the Big 12 or go home, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, she got 2 shout outs. I mean, we talked about taxpayer money earlier and how that's being burnt on specific individuals. So
she is.
That was a more inadvertent, not mentioned by name, but I mentioned her by name. I said in a polite tone, so come on, fix it. Please help us.